We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, but today doesn't feel that way. We are divided in more ways than one, and the media and the powers that be all have their own agenda. The people of this great nation no longer care about the truth, they only care about the side they are on. At Poor 360, I am trying to change that. We're bringing you the facts and history so we can all learn something and make our own decisions. Tune in every Tuesday to be a part of that journey. The following
is a journey into comics.
Journey into comics.
It's a journey into comics.
It's a journey into comics.
Journey into comics.
Journey into comics.
Network.
Production.
Went forward in time to view alternate futures, to see all the possible outcomes of the coming conflict.
How many did you see?
14,605,000.
How many did we win?
One.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Journey into Comics, the podcast that's dedicated to everything nerd. With your host, the Podfather himself, Nate Phillips, and introducing his new co-host, Tyler McLaughlin.
You should have gone for the head.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Journey into Comics. It's Journey into Comics 255. As always, I am your host, Nate. Today, joining me, he is the hot sauce of the Journey into Comics network. Welcome back to the episode, our co-host. You know him, you love him. He is the mimic mime of Wreck-It Ralph Kingdom. Welcome back once again, Tyler. How's it going?
It's good. It's been a nice lazy Sunday. You and I just had like an hour and hour and a half pre-show. We've got a lot of big plans planned for the Journey into Comics podcast.
We scheming over here. We be scheming.
Scheming
and dreaming.
I almost went a little bit Shatner with that, and I was starting to get ashamed of myself, so I had to stop. Otherwise, it would have kept going.
Oh, damn. I don't think you should have been ashamed of yourself. I think it would have been fine, but...
I love to talk.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, man. But, no, you're right. We do have some stuff planned. We are scheming and dreaming. We caught up. I think we kind of decided, and this is important to note to the audience, that unless it's like Voice of Survival or something and we're on together, we're going to try to keep our catching up to off-air. Because if we were to do that, our shows would become like 5.5 hours long. Because
and sometimes, like, you know, if you and I catch up, you know, because we're in contact pretty much every day.
Totally.
So, I mean, like, the little bit of catch up that we had today about, you know, you playing in Ohio and stuff like that, like, of course I want to hear that. But, like, most of the general stuff we talk about every day. So
absolutely, you know,
if at some point it becomes like we've caught up, and then we catch up again as soon as we start recording, and that's, you know, it's not real, it's not fresh. We've already had the conversation, so
it's like you know, I hate to say it so vulgarly, but like jerking each other off for no reason. Like, here we go,
right.
We're just trying this again for whatever reason, you know, like. No enjoyment or love. You can see it on the screen. I'm doing the jerk-off motion. Mm-hmm. The audience can't, but I clearly am.
Something that is new and relevant, we're trying out some new technology, a different way that we are seeing and hearing each other. And, you know, I'm glad that we had the long pre-show that we did, because it allowed us to kind of hone in and you know, tweak that the way that we needed to. And we've been talking about trying some stuff for a while, so hopefully, fingers crossed that this goes well. Like, I mean, we've been talking for an hour and a half, and other than the initial issues that we haven't had any the entire time frame, so...
Exactly. And I'm excited, too, because, you know, when you use... I mean, Brando and I, through necessity, not through want, but through necessity, had to decide how to record together. for the very first time in this kind of format. That's really the birth of Journey into Comics way back in episode 5 or 6 or whatever, is him calling in because Caitlin had hit a deer. He couldn't drive over like we had planned because I was at my dad's house for the weekend. It was going to be like a great catch-up, and who knows how it would have went if we would have been face-to-face. It could have been a totally different conversation, made the show different, who knows. But what ends up happening is what we have now, where we know how to record each other, record our own shit, and then put the 2 tracks together to make a thing. But lately, Skype has been like, you know what, fuck you, we're going to have crazy glitches, we're going to drop the call completely, we're going to have all these quality issue errors and whatnot. And, you know, like you said, we've been on Facebook Messenger now for like an hour and change to no real problems other than things that were actually our computers and not the actual thing we're trying to work with, which is great to note. And once we got those little bumps figured out, it was like, we got this. We're golden.
And, you know, we recorded for, you know, like a half an hour to 40 minutes of that time frame just to make sure we didn't have microphone bleed through and whatnot. You know, I'm watching the stuff on my end pretty close because for some reason my recording setup has a tendency to bleed audio from different sources in when it shouldn't. You know, so it's an ongoing journey, no pun intended, for us to kind of figure out, you know, technologically how everything's supposed to fire on all cylinders. And I think that's, you know, that's network wide because we don't all record in a studio. We don't all record with the same equipment. You know, you and I use different audio platforms, or not audio platforms, but recording platforms to get our stuff. And, you know, sometimes it's an arduous process to get everything, you know, dialed in and where it needs to be because, you know, as a network, we continue to crank shows out every week, you know, because we like to do it. And we want our listeners to have the best quality content as possible. So
we don't want you to listen. I mean, listen, one thing I will say, I go back and listen to old Journey into Comics shows, and there's some shit that I said that I'm just like, why did I say it like that? Like, I know what I meant to say, but why did I say that? Like, I would say things like, we're not professional. No, I don't mean we're not professional. What I'm really saying when I said that back in the day was like, I don't want to edit out real live moments when you're in a moment with a podcast, especially if you're in the room with people, you know, and have like a crazy funny thing that's weird or something happen. You don't, you know, just, we're not going to use that, skip over it or whatever. But like here, I want to make sure that when you're listening to it, it's not a jumbled fucking mess either. And, you know, I think last week we maybe was that last week we had a little bit of an issue, or was that 2 weeks ago now at this point?
No, that was last week.
Where we had a little bit of an issue where we were kind of on top of each other in some of the spots because of how bad Skype's lag was. And I remember we came away from that conversation going, whatever it is, I don't care what. And we weren't angry, obviously. We were just very much on the same page about it. Just like, however we need to, this has to change. We have to come up with a better way to record the show because we don't want to sit here and do 22 hours of editing right before a podcast has to go live and worry about it. We can be live and edit ourselves. We're good like that. We can be on the fly and know how to kind of steer the ship and whatnot and all those things. So,
Totally
Go ahead.
agree. Nope.
Okay.
You said it perfect.
Yeah, but I was just, you know, it's just like I want to give you guys the best of our show, especially now that Tyler and I are really firing on all cylinders. I've had people say to me really nice things about you as my co-host, and that our flow is uncomparable and it's different than Brando, which is great because you're not Brandon. You and Brandon are two different people, and you and me have a different relationship than you and me and Brandon and me and you and Brandon and all that. So now that we're here and firing on all cylinders, we can finally like gear up and into the show, man, because there's a lot of different things we can kind of riff on and talk about. So I want to know, where on the things that I threw your way today, what was like the most shocking? Like, oh man, I can't believe this dropped. I can't believe this is happening.
Let me go through the list real quick.
Sure. I know I kind of just like threw that oddball question at you. I know that's like a spur of the moment thing.
No, but actually, I had it in my head. I just had to remember where it was at kind of in this list. I saw this early this morning because I do this thing where I get up so early regularly, like on the weekend when I want to sleep in, I get up at the ass crack of dawn. And, I saw this almost immediately when I got up this morning that Kevin Conroy is slated to play Bruce Wayne in the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I think that's incredible. I've liked, like any, any 90s kid, Kevin Conroy had a part of our childhood locked down. So to see him kind of brought back into the fold and recognized, I definitely dig that for sure.
And I think CW does such a great job of knowing how to recognize those people that did exactly what you said, shape their childhoods. Because the people that are running those CW shows are our age and a little bit older. And it happened to them too. And guess what? Now they're in control and they're like, oh, we're going to do it fucking right, Mm-hmm. And it's go ahead.
Go ahead. Jinx. But
Pitchfork, owe me a Coke, dog.
We're used to that Skype lag, so when I said go ahead, I expected you to go ahead and keep talking, and then 5 minutes into it say, oh no, you go ahead. Like Kanye, I'm gonna let you finish. But no, I mean, I think we've said it. We've set the precedent on this show. Our opinions of kind of the DC and Warner Brothers cinematic universe, and and all the trials and tribulations and controversy, in the studios and with fans and actors and that whole shebang. We've said it time and time again. They need to look at how successful their CW shows are. I mean, there's a lot of people that will talk about how the Arrow has been, an up and down show. It doesn't matter what show it is. When you have a show go past the 3-season mark, it's going to be an arduous process for a little bit, because I don't care if you're Stephen King or Neil Gaiman or, you throw Lawrence Kasdan, you throw any major any writer out there, they're like, especially with a TV show, something that's episodic, not every single episode is going to be a banger.
Yeah, not every single dart is going to land.
Yeah, not every episode are you going to introduce a new villain and then have 10 episodes of build-up and then have an ultimate, a pentacular climax. You got to slog through the mud to get to the gold. I mean, every show is that way. It doesn't matter what genre it is; they're all that way. So they need to look at the shows and take a good look at them.
Absolutely, because their shows are like, here's how you do it right. One thing that's interesting to note too is they're also going to bring Black Lightning into this. That's a CW show that has not at all played in that universe. They've been separate. So you've got Brandon Routh that's going to be two characters. He's going to be the Legends of Tomorrow Adam. He's also going to be Kingdom Come Batman, or Kingdom Come Superman, my fault. Yep. John Cryer is Lex Luthor. Okay, so that's a Supergirl tie-in. Like, their tie-in's brilliant, but dude, beyond that, I don't know if you saw this. They are forcing a 1-month break during their crossover event.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's brilliant because they're going to leave you on this crazy cliffhanger, and I'm thinking it was The Flash that I read was the third show. Let me pull that up right now. Whichever show it was, they, having this 1-month break, they're coming back to Arrow. You know that's one of the final episodes of the season of Arrow. It might be the last episode of Arrow if I'm thinking that they're doing a shortened season, See if I can pull this up.
Uh-oh. We got into some lag-tastic. Oh, did I get you back?
Yep, I'm here. I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, you froze up on me.
Uh-oh.
We hyped this up after we've talked for almost 2 hours at this point, and now's when it's going to start, when we're recording.
It's like, let's test you bitches, see how good you really are. I'm looking up the schedule for the crossover event, And where the fuck is it? I just had it, and then my page refreshed. Ah, here we go. I found it. Still with me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about this here, because we've got it. Oh, they're playing a trailer. Okay, so it's Supergirl starting the event off on Sunday, December 8th. Then Monday, the 9th, Batwoman. Then Tuesday, the 10th, is The Flash, as I assumed. And then they're taking a 1 month and 4 day hiatus into 2020. Arrow will return Tuesday, January 14th. Legends of Tomorrow will wrap this up on Tuesday, January 14th as well. So it's going to be a back-to-back 2-part finale.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great.
And I mean, it's really brilliant because they are doing the Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline. And then they recently revealed the most recent trailer for the season of Arrow, and it's revealed that instead of it being Flash vanishing missing from a crisis, it's Arrow. And we learned from the crossover that happened last season that Arrow made a deal with the Monitor to save his friends. He didn't tell them what that deal was. It leads me to believe that he's going to sacrifice himself instead of Barry being the one, like in the comics, to die, which means that they're going to really take him out with a bang, but it seems to me that it's a little, and I want your opinion on this, obviously, but like it seems a little bit like they're kind of doing the Tony Stark thing here again.
Well, I think if you look at it that way, or from that perspective, I think you're definitely going to draw the parallel there. Tony Stark was the beginning, or Iron Man was the beginning of the MCU. Arrow was the beginning of the the CW kind of kingdom, and you're definitely going to draw that parallel because look at what they've created from such humble beginnings. I mean, you and I have talked about it on the show before. Did we ever think that the MCU was going to come out of Iron Man when we saw it in theaters? Absolutely not, because unpopular opinion guy here. I don't really care for the first 2 Iron Man movies at all. I actually have not watched the original Iron Man since I saw it in theaters. I didn't really care for it. So
you should give it a second watch now that you're older and wiser.
I mean, I will eventually.
You got to do that 22 or 23 movie nonstop event, dude.
I don't know if these old bones have it in them. But
I tell you, today I watched, just to quickly throw a tangent out there, today I watched Infinity War into Endgame back-to-back.
How was that?
Oh, just fucking jizz-worthy, man. It was so good. Like
I saw a
shit.
meme. I saw a meme this morning that's like, 2034, I'm sitting on the couch with my son. He says, "Dad, let's watch Infinity War." You pop it in, you finish it, and and the son goes, "All right, let's watch Endgame now." And the dad goes, "You have to wait 1 year, 4 weeks, and 3 hours, like your elders did. It's the trial of the elders or something like that." And the kid's like, "But no, Dad, it's on the shelf." And he's like, "You must wait, like we had to." But yeah, so I think it's kind of hard. Such a big event like this, you have your original character, who unless they pull some massive trickery, who's going to be gone from the series, going to be gone from the CW catalog, so to speak. And as much as I want to say, well, they're pulling that straight from Infinity War, I think with any long running series here, at least for the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be that syndrome. There's going to be Tony Stark syndrome. When you have an important character in any media who is ultimately going to sacrifice themselves to save everybody, and you're going to be like, well, Tony Stark did it in Endgame. Guess they ripped that off. And you're going to do it unwillingly because of how important Endgame was to us. You know what I mean?
Yes, and impactful. I totally understand where you're coming from there. And to kind of, further elaborate on that with the Tony Stark syndrome, as it were. he's not the first hero to sacrifice himself in history. Obviously there's a lot of characters that have done that. I just think it was executed so brilliantly, And then to quickly super tangent into this for just one brief second. Did you see the super cut that somebody did of the final sequence of Endgame to Iron Man?
I can't shake my head anymore or else it'll fall off.
Dude, I can hear the dice rattling around, jingle, jangle, jingle, jangle, because you're just like, you guys, he was like fucking almost sucking a dick. He was bobbing his head so fast.
That's actually a nickel, 3 dimes, and like a Spanish peseta.
Okay, what is a Spanish peseta?
It's the currency that Spain used before they switched to the euro.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's a currency that no longer exists.
I love that. It's just randomly up there jingo-janging around.
Yep, all that's rolling around in my brain.
That means your brain is filled with loose change. Conspiracy.
And some lint, maybe a couple buttons.
Ooh. So that was like one of the coolest supercuts. Just, Thanos, I am inevitable. He snaps his finger and then you hear the thump of the bass drum. Do, 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 do. And that first wow, it's just like, oh, here we go, And then when Tony says that he is Iron Man, I'm just like, man, they did this fucking perfectly. Like, wow.
Surely you saw all the additional footage of everyone paying their respects to Tony,
The bow down. Yeah.
Yes, the bow down, and then you get to see Pepper's final moments. That was one of my, not to shift too hard away from DC, but, since we're talking about it, in my first couple watches of Endgame, you see Tony Stark's death scene. The train of our existence has arrived this evening.
Ooh, yep, train of our existence decided to show up and bombard you during the conversation about the extra sequence.
But that final sequence with Tony and with Peter and Pepper, it actually, for how much in Tony's story, the last few movies, how much Pepper has meant to him, and especially now that the child's involved and all that, I felt like that there should have been a little bit more of Pepper sending Tony off than, we did it, Mr. Stark, we won, everyone's sad, and then straight to the funeral. We talked a couple episodes ago about how they re-released it in theaters with the additional footage. I would have much rather seen the beginning stages of Pepper Potts mourning.
Oh, shit.
That's a little bit of a Freudian slip there. I may or may not have
She's
a
over
thing
there
for Gwyneth
staring down
Paltrow.
Quill, diddling herself like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
She's like, give it to me, Star-Lord.
But I would have much rather seen the beginning of that mourning, because it's not just for Peter and for Pepper. Double P's there. The plosives really tongue-tying me. We see it at the beginning of Far From Home with they do the quick, intro video showing everyone who made the ultimate sacrifice, and instead of seeing an unrendered CGI model of Hulk with it where his mouth doesn't move, I would have much rather seen Pepper saying goodbye to Tony.
Ooh.
So,
yeah, I think that would have been more impactful, but also I think minimalism is kind of important in this moment. You really drive, in fact, the home that, he was a big deal to Pepper. He was a big deal to everybody, and that's the ultimate play, and I've been reading a lot of different interesting things about Endgame. I'm kind of glad we're on this train, because I did read that apparently there was one point they were considering including Red Hulk. Did you know this?
Yes. I actually also saw this morning.
So, Christopher Marcus talking to Backstory Magazine when they asked him if Smart Hulk fleeting, red tingled glow, something that essentially were joking, could it happen? And he said he actually entertained the thought for about a day. He says Red Hulk is a completely different thing in the comics. It would end up being, well, we just really would say that he changed colors, and that's not really a character change. And if there's a future for William Hurt as a superhero, he can turn into Red Hulk. Mm-hmm. So he's really laying the groundwork. That he also would like to see William Hurt as Red Hulk. They didn't want to take away from that opportunity or possibility.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny that we get this news today because we talked about this on last week's show when I was going through my 25, my top 25 basically of comic book characters, and I think I've said for a long time that I think Hulk needs to stay. Number one, it needs to stay Mark Ruffalo because he's done a better job of playing both Hulk and Banner than, the last two that we got, especially Eric Bana. I mean, I actually feel bad for Eric Bana for what he had to, what he's kind of been subjected to for that role,
Man, Ang Lee's Hulk, what the
wow.
fuck?
I mean, I loved it at the time. I remember seeing it. I saw it at the drive-in in Spain.
Whoa, that's bitchin'.
Mm-hmm. It was incredible because I was living in Spain at the time. But I think if you're not gonna keep Banner and Hulk as a supporting character, I think that would definitely be the smart play to just keep sprinkling him in movies that makes his character relevant. I don't particularly want a standalone Hulk movie unless it's going to be Red Hulk. I mean, why? Like, it's just, if you're going to do some Hulk shit, it needs to be Planet Hulk, Red Hulk. I mean, any of the major storylines, and I think they're going to struggle doing any of them unless some shit really, really changes.
Honestly, there's a Hulk. Oh God, what? I can't remember what the fucking storyline exactly was. If it was, I don't think it was Immortal, or maybe it was just the Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a series in 2015. Oh, God, I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it was a 2015 Hulk series. I have the comic. It's like sitting over in my boxes right now. I'm looking right at them. But the first issue, Banner takes a bullet to the head.
I think that was Immortal Hulk, wasn't it?
No, I know, because I thought Immortal Hulk issue 1, the cover was like him coming out of the grave. And this Hulk is like, I want to just say it's the Hulk. Let me see if I can pull this shit up. Because
keep talking, Nate. I'm on it.
Okay, you're on it. So, anyways, he quote unquote, he gets shot in the head, and like amnesia sets in. He doesn't remember who he is as the Hulk, and I think that'd be a really interesting journey. A version of Ruffalo who's trapped within himself, who doesn't realize he has the monster. He's completely oblivious to the monster.
Mm-hmm. Is the cover? Hold on, let me see if I can just screen share this to you.
Okay, let me get over here. Is that a thing on this?
It is actually.
Holy shit! It is actually a thing. Man,
oh no,
Facebook.
I gotta add an extension, and I don't want to do that while we're recording.
Okay. Let me.
Is it Hulk number? Like, I'm looking at a cover right now. It says Hulk number 1. It's got some graffiti that says "Who shot Bruce Banner?"
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yep. Okay, that was actually 2014, April 16th. I'm gonna read the description here. The writer was Mark Waid. The cover artist was Jerome Opena. Following the shocking events of last month's Indestructible Hulk finale, Bruce Banner lies at death's door. If he survives, it won't be as the Bruce Banner we've known. How will the Hulk wreak vengeance on Banner's assailant? How can he?
Yeah. See what I'm saying? Like,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was just called Hulk. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk, Volume 1.
I'm looking at all the cover art for... This was a 16-issue run. I'm really digging the art.
Oh, man, the art was beautiful.
It's looking like, the Abomination is in Hulk number 2. Number 3 looks like Captain Marvel is in it. Number 4 looks like Hulk is fighting the Avengers. Yeah. I'm going to have to pick this up.
Sweet. I'm glad that I just pointed you in the direction of something that you'd be into.
Issue number 10 is Hulk versus Red Hulk, and then at the bottom, like on this cover art, Hulk is getting the fuck beat out of him, and in big, like, obnoxious yellow letters it says, "Is this the last stand of Doc Green?" And I dig this.
I'm going through on Marvel's site as well right now because it wasn't that the story didn't catch me, it's that I feel like something happened and maybe they didn't release it right away, or like something happened and I just forgot to order it or something. But I didn't keep up with this series stupidly. And like I'm looking through it like, fuck, oh, I would have loved that. What the fuck was I doing?
Well, maybe
Kitty Pryde.
Yeah,
issue 9.
Yeah. Issue number 13, Deadpool makes an appearance. Yeah, so I'm thinking, with some of the stuff that we've been scheming in the background, that maybe this is something. Oh, hey, if you're on the same website, are you on Marvel's website?
Yeah.
Okay, go up to the top and click Show Variants.
For which one?
Just hit the tab that says Show Variants.
Okay, why do I not see that tab?
And then look at the number 16 variant for the final issue.
Okay. I'm trying to pull it up now. Because I'm on Marvel's site. I don't know, because I don't have I do see variant covers now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, whoa. Mm-hmm. That white cover.
Mm-hmm.
The U variant.
Yep.
That's absolutely badass. And I like the description of this. Hulk-sized grand finale to the Omega Hulk epic. The Hulk confrontation you've been waiting for. Doc Green versus Jen Walters. What is Doc Green's startling confession and the return of ... Betty Ross? Plus the reveal of Lyra, the Savage She-Hulk's fate.
Also, look at issue 2 and issue 3, both of the Bagley variants of those covers.
Okay.
I'm actually really digging this because we don't get to unexpectedly nerd out on the show while we're recording very often, and this is pretty nice.
Hell yeah, I totally agree. There's so many. Let me tell you what, I give Marvel a lot of credit for laying their movie groundwork quietly in their comic universe, because there were so many great stories happening in the 2014-2015 time, and that was really when I reemerged into reading comics. They did the Age of Ultron series, which was amazing. They had done Infinity, which was a series that was absolutely fucking stellar. You had the the Uncanny X-Men, all new X-Men. That story, dude, I tell you what, I don't know how much in the X-Men you are, but the all new X-Men story is fucking amazing.
I've heard that from a few people I've talked to, or stuff that I've read, that it's definitely a must-have for your collection.
Well, the big thing about that story is that the all new X-Men is told from such a strange perspective, because it's still dealing with the very real fallout of what Scott Summers does to Professor Xavier with the Phoenix Force during the Avengers vs. X-Men crossover, okay? With dealing with that, though, the Beast, Hank McCoy, is like, I can't deal with this. I cannot go on knowing that Scott will do that to Professor X. So how can I stop that? And he goes, I have such a brilliant idea. I'm going to use Reed Richards' technology to go to the past, pull the X-Men from the past, and bring them to the present, and show them what the fuck happened, and then send them back to the past so that they have the knowledge they need to have to not do the thing that happens. They'll know everything. I'll fill them in and be completely informed. So he goes and he gets the original blue and yellow teamed X-Men and brings them to modern times, dude. And like, there's this whole like mystique about Jean Grey, her old self, Marvel Girls, Jean Grey, finding out the truth about the Phoenix Force, because it's like this not talked about thing. It's like taboo to discuss, and they like, everybody like fears her because they think she's going to become this monster and she doesn't even know it yet. Oh, the story is super fucking brilliant. I'm right now finally getting to that issue 2 variant cover. Oh my God, Who Shot Us? I love that.
Look at number 3 too.
Okay, let me next. See variant cover next. Oh, I love that he's catching the big ass rock.
Yeah, like I've been, I texted you not long ago, and we kind of had a brainstorm, and I was like, I think as much as we've talked about it here lately, with my passion for most of the Dark Horse stuff, Hellboy, Star Wars, Alien versus Predator, shit like that, I kind of thought that, because I haven't bought a physical comic shit in probably 10, 12 years. I mean,
Damn, brother.
It's been over a decade for sure. I thought that Dark Horse, buying kind of their compendium where it's every issue in one book, I thought that was going to be kind of my gateway back into comics, but I think this 2014 Hulk series is now it for sure.
And I'm telling you, that 2014 Hulk series, unless I'm completely oblivious to like a huge major reveal or some kind of insane, it shouldn't be impossibly hard to track down, and it shouldn't be insanely expensive. Like, that's one of those we can probably fucking find you the entire run in the weekend.
Cool.
It's interesting. We were talking about this off air a little bit, but like we have this game plan of this thing that we're going to do, and we're not going to speak on it, but we're scheming as we keep teasing. And when you go and do this specific thing, I remember the first time I did this, a piece of merch found me. I didn't find it, it found me. Okay, so I am a big collector of the comic book Chew. I've talked about Chew a lot, Tony Chew, and that crazy story. So I go to see to see this booth at this place that I want to go to at this one year, and I am looking, and this guy walks up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, you look like you're into weird shit." I'm like, "Okay, what's up?" And he's like,
"Thanks there, bub."
And I was like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "Well, what kind of comics are you into?" And I tell him, and he's like, "Oh," and because I just mentioned Chew, because at that time I was heavy into collecting it. He's like, "Dude, I have something for you right now. Wait here." And I'm like, "Okay." He comes back and he hands me issue 2 of Chew, and it's got like $120 price tag on it. And I'm like, "Oh, I don't quite have that, man." And he's like, "I'll give you a deal right now." And he sold me this thing for $80. And I have the entire run of Chew now, thanks to that dude. Like, it was a crazy thing. I didn't find that piece; it found me. And then in a different year, I did this. Went to a similar kind of function that we're scheming about. I'm being so elusive as I can be, tiptoeing around this shit. It's really difficult, but I'm doing a really good job, I think. But I went to this function, and then like a very cool pop vinyl that I don't actually have anymore. I sold it, but the Dr. Manhattan pop that glows in the dark, I had that for a time, and that was an awesome experience. But yeah, man, I'm excited to get you back into the comic world, because I'm just stupid collector, I guess. Like, I have all these, I get all the things I love. I have something of it, and it's really something that I was not expecting myself to get as passionate about, but then once you kind of get into the world of it and you get lost in it and you find other things you really like, or a series that you didn't expect to get drawn on, like, you're going to pick up this Hulk series, hopefully. You're going to read it and be like, holy shit, I need more Marvel in my life. What else is good from that time frame? And like I was just telling you a few examples, they're like dozens of great stories that happened that time. We talked about it last week. That was when they did the Deadpool Illustrated, you know? So,
one of the things I think I'm excited to get my hands on again, because I know my dad has it for sure, and it's kind of one of those where his comics and my comics are all in one big collection, so they're basically our comics. But like, there's things that I want right now. Like, I would love to have all of the Cosmic Ghost Rider right now. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that don't appreciate Cosmic Ghost Rider, and it does it for me. So that's, you know, as a collector who just brought up Chew, you know,
oh yeah,
it does it for you. It may not do it for me, but it doesn't matter, because that's what you're into. So I would like to have all of Cosmic Ghost Rider right now, but I can't.
Put that in your brain too. We'll keep looking. We'll keep our eyes peeled, man.
Oh no! When we go on this adventure that we're planning, I will have a list. I will have a handwritten list of, this is what I want. We must
keep
find
talking.
it.
Keep talking.
Okay.
You stay right there and keep talking.
Okay. So some of the other stuff that we've got list-wise for topics this week. Man.
Let me pause you right there, because I got the thing I wanted to get really quickly. I wanted to show you.
You're a lot faster.
You said the word list. So this is one of my lists, bud. And
Wowzers.
This is the Amazing Spider-Man Master Checklist, okay?
Uh-huh.
There's a number on here. That number, I don't know if you can see it.
41?
That's the total amount of Amazing Spider-Man comics that I need between issues 1 and 100. That's it. And then I have from 1 to 700 complete run. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have checklists of all the comics that I'm huge into. Amazing Spider-Man's got a checklist. Avengers, which is not one that I'm like super speedy about, but that's got a checklist.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's obviously not a 700 issue thing either.
Yeah, I definitely cut it off after the first 150. Like, if I'm going to collect, the first 150 are the way to go. The same can be said for Fantastic Four. It's like 200 issues. This is the one that I don't think I've ever really shown you, but it's going to definitely be a little treat when we visit next time, because this page right here, my friend, is the Tales to Astonish Incredible Hulk page, and
Nice.
It's one of my most complete runs next to Spidey, because I have almost all the Tales to Astonish Hulks, so what they did is, initially when they introduced Hulk, it was a 6-issue miniseries. They didn't like it. There was the weird misprint thing. Originally he was gray, and then he shifts to green because of the misprint, and they're like, oh, we're just going to fucking run with it. He's green now, you know? So then it got kind of weird. Then they dropped it off completely, and then at issue Tales to Astonish, I think it was like 53 or 52, Hulk re-debuts as one of the 2 stories, I think alongside of either Submariner or Ant-Man or Giant Man at that time. Mm-hmm. It was Giant Man, because they had a couple amazing stories together and butted heads, and then they moved him back to his own series, and they started at issue 102 and then moved on, man. And I've been a huge Hulk collector, so that's a list I have. I've got my X-Men list that's a lot more selective. It's all the shit that I really love, and like I was telling you, none of the shit that's in the 60s and 70s, because that's all the reprints they did, and I haven't collected any of that.
Right.
And then my final list, which I have not updated in 20 issues, is The Walking Dead, which is now over and never made it to issue 200, as I had literally, I did this years ago, and it's stopped at 200. So I had a feeling, I guess. Anyways, that's the comics. Now we got some of the comics out of the way. Where do we want to do now? What do we want to talk about? What do we want to discuss?
I mean, do you have any more comments on Red Hulk possibly being added into the MCU?
My thing is this: if you're gonna do it fucking fast, because William Hurt, no offense, he's not getting younger. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not waking up on the sunny side of the stage every day. He's getting on the sunset of the stage. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think that if you're going to do it, you do it for one movie or two movies. And if you do it, you either introduce him in a movie as a Hulk villain that then spins off into the first Thunderbolts movie where he makes the sacrifice play and that drives the Thunderbolts to have their own series. Or if you're going to give him a standalone, it's a one-off standalone. Red Hulk, boom. Tell the story, give it its best iteration because you can preserve it. It doesn't have to be a crazy 6-movie arc. We've already seen that they have a hard enough time doing a Hulk story. And I've said it before, I would really love for them to do a Hulk Spider-Man story. They've teamed up many times in the comics together and in the TV universe and everything else. Why wouldn't we want to see those two interact? My great question to you is, real quick, one last thing. Do you think Hulk's arm from Endgame, now that we know it's going to be still damaged, like that's going to be a permanent cause to him, is going to change what kind of Hulk we see moving forward?
Possibly. I think now that the Russos are detached, at least temporarily, I think, even though they put that statement out that said his arm's going to be permanently damaged, I think with the gamma radiation and the character of Hulk, I think, if we move past this Professor Hulk, which I hate it. I mean, I'm going to go on record again. I hate it. It's awful. I think it'll go back to normal. Maybe 2 or 3 movies in from now, if we see Hulk, I think it won't maybe go 100% back to normal, but I think it'll be close.
I had an alternate theory on this. That's why I brought it up. What if Tony and the nanotech, because Tony obviously had nanotech and he knew how to use it. Banner saw the nanotech and was like, whoa, what the fuck is that? Like, wow, that was cool. The nanotech, do you like it? It's fresh in my mind. Like I said, I watched them back to back today, so I like have it in my head, So Banner's like all impressed by the nanotech. What's to say he couldn't make the nanotech allow his arm to operate and function and have some sort of, not necessarily a gauntlet, but like a sleeve, almost Winter Soldier-esque for that arm until it's healed or, until however it's going to be done. Whatever they decide to do.
I mean, I think whatever they decide to do, I'll be okay with it. But what I was going to say to kind of close out Red Hulk, I think, I would much rather have Thunderbolt be a one-movie villain, not have the Thunderbolts. I mean, because as much as I would like to see the Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and all these groups, and then you continue the Guardians of the Galaxy and every other team that we're going to see moving forward, that just adds another one that they have to try and shoehorn in somewhere, So let Thunderbolt be like a one movie villain, send Hurt on his way respectfully, and with being one of the best villains in kind of the Hulk universe. And then I've read recently, a lot of talks about bringing Abomination back. Let Abomination be a reoccurring villain for Hulk and for Banner, because even though the Hulk movie with Ed Norton wasn't the greatest in the world, it was better than the Eric Bana one. And if you carry over that character, Blonsky's got a fucking hatred for Banner and for Hulk now. Let that play out. It's not the most creative and original story, but if you want to make some more Hulk movies or have villains that are kind of Hulk caliber, just keep bringing Abomination back.
I agree with you 150%, man. I think that there are stories to be told with these characters, but you have to be chess piece about them. Use them in proper thing. And I think I love what you said about Blonsky and bringing Abomination back, because Tim Roth's character kind of gets a shafty send-off, and there's not really a full resolve there, and to eventually bring him back in a different capacity, maybe genetically enhanced, maybe he was sent back to the lab and they worked on him more and they pumped him with more gamma shit and made him even crazier and even more fucking extreme and grotesque and whatnot. Like, that's a cool story. There's unresolved story with Betty Brandt, right? Is that right, Betty Brandt? Am I fucking that up? Betty Ross.
So.
It's Betty Ross. Duh, I'm fucking stupid. Betty Brandt's from Spider-Man. That's too many comic book characters in my head. That's just a thing. It really happens. But yeah, man, I'm just looking forward to whatever the future of Hulk and Red Hulk and all those characters are, because it is so open now. There are so many possible, different outlets for them to go. I'm going to totally shift gears right now on you, because I just read something I don't think I sent you, but according to Kevin Smith, have you heard this yet?
Mm-mm.
The Justice League Snyder Cut does exist.
Wow. We called that.
So here's what is said. This is very important, and it's actually really good to read. Now, Smith says, while I've not seen it firsthand, and also to be clear, I know Zach, but it's not like we're fucking tight, son. He said, that being said, I've spoken now to enough people at various levels in that production. There is, in fact, a Snyder Cut for sure. That's not a mythical beast. It exists. Now, also, it's not a finished movie by any stretch of the imagination. There were things that went away from the story that they shot that didn't wind up going into visual effects or anything like that. So I would assume, based on what I've been told, that large sections of that Snyder Cut are, pre-visual effects with a lot of green screening. We're not talking about a finished movie. When people hear me say Snyder Cut, in their heads they think about like a DVD that they've seen on an extended cut or something that's finished. The Snyder Cut, that again I haven't seen, but the one that I've heard everyone speak of, was never a finished film. It was a movie that people in production could watch and fill in the blanks. It was certainly not meant for mass consumption. He goes on to finish with this. He says, I feel confident that the audience could handle the cut of the movie without being like, I think there's a common thought process probably within the studio. And again, no studio has said this to me, but I would assume that they're like, we can't show this to people. Yes, there is a Snyder Cut, but no audience would be able to look at this and see what the director's intent was. And I actually disagree. That would seem like common wisdom, because everybody always wants to put their best foot forward, but I think the audience now, particularly the audience that would consume the Snyder Cut and discuss it at great length, can watch it at work print. They can watch a work in progress and fill in the blanks in their head. Every studio likes to make money. They do multiple incarnations of movies or videos all the time. They could just be one of these things. All they have to do is lend their audience a little more credence and be like, look, they'll get it. Put up a bunch of fucking disclaimers, including one from Zach himself at the head of going, obviously the movie wasn't finished, but here's what we were thinking. There's definitely a way to do it. They could definitely shoot a version of the flick that where, they put Snyder into it, explaining what would have went where and where it would have went. But that's all he says, yeah.
I dig that. I mean, when we talked about it the last time, I said that they should just release it and let us watch it. I'll pay for it if I have to, but, people like us would appreciate it.
Oh, totally. And I think it, like they said, it would give you an opportunity to kind of, and I have an idea about this too, and I'm cutting myself off on my own idea, but that's okay. But like, it just hit me. Honestly, maybe the best way to do it would almost to be like to get the cast and crew together and tell the Snyder Cut like a documentary where it shows the movie, and as they're showing the movie, there's behind the scenes stuff, and you're seeing the things that they obviously filmed, and you're talking to Ben Affleck, and you're talking to Momoa now, reflecting on the Snyder Cut and what the vision was, and what they intended on doing, and what the scenes that were cut, meant to that version of the movie, I guess.
Totally agree.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's an interesting little tidbit to drop your way. Man, we have several different interesting things we're going to be doing today on the show, but I'm not really necessarily sure which one you want to do next.
Let's talk about Hobbs and Shaw's Dwayne Johnson game to join Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool franchise. Let's talk about that.
So I guess that Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool, went and saw this Hobbs and Shaw movie, which is the Fast and the Furious sequel franchise movie spinoff thing that The Rock and Jason Statham are doing. Mm-hmm. Apparently, Ryan Reynolds is in it.
Yep. Well,
I didn't
don't
know that, but apparently he is, I guess. And Rob Liefeld tweeted at The Rock, "Dearest at The Rock, based on reports of outstanding chemistry between you and a familiar friend," Ryan Reynolds, "I believe the next logical step is to join the Marvel Universe as Garrison Kane in a future Deadpool installment." He said, You're a natural, and Kane is already celebrated by millions of comic book fans who have thrilled to his adventures since I first introduced him in X-Force #2. That's an issue that I actually have as well. It's the return of Deadpool and the first appearance of Domino as well. But The Rock responded. He said, "Dearest Rob, thank you, amigo. It is true in Hobbs and Shaw, I have insanely outstanding chemistry with our familiar friend. And since you created the character, how does one Garrison Kane get along with the one?" And then he used the skull emoji, swim emoji, as in Deadpool. Because you can't officially talk about it, but it's like scouting. You know, it's like, man, maybe this is an interesting way to bring The Rock into the MCU.
I mean, you and I have talked about it briefly in the past. At what point is Dwayne The Rock Johnson going to make his debut either in the DC Cinematic Universe or the MCU, if my mouth will work when my brain's telling it to. You know, it's just a matter of time. He's, you know, top 5 biggest stars in Hollywood. You know, most people would say he's the biggest star in Hollywood, and I wouldn't disagree at all. Is his typical character that he's played here recently what we need in the MCU? Maybe not. But is that character necessary, or does it fit into the Deadpool franchise? Absolutely. You know, I think back to, and it's weird, you know, when I read this article, the first thing I thought of was The Rock's role in the original, or in the Doom movie, you know, that came out in the early 2000s. You know, he's supposed to be this guy who's in charge, and, you know, he's a military man, and then he ends up being the main villain of the movie, and The Rock's not used to being a guy who plays a villain or man, I was going to say anti-hero, but then, you know, we talked about a couple movies that Rock was in during our pre-show, and he's totally an anti-hero in most of the movies that he plays in. So I don't know. I think it'll be nice, you know, to have some fresh blood.
Well, and the one thing that's really interesting, you speak about The Rock's previous roles and things he's done recently, and I look at the fact that the one thing The Rock does better than anybody else, and with the fact that you're talking about Ryan Reynolds here now, having chemistry with him. So, The Rock is amazing at taking his silliness very seriously. Like I said, and I'll say it again, and I know I've said it to you, I don't think you've seen it, but Jumanji, it's actually amazing. Like, it'll blow your mind, whatever. The Rock is the main reason in that, because his character is completely not what you're expecting that character to be. And the comedic levity of it all makes that movie, and it gives it the tone and the pace that movie makes it shine. So you take that same concept, mix it with this Hobbs and Shaw guy, a little bit of seriousness, a little bit of silliness, this perfect chemistry with Reynolds. Garrison Kane is the character. X-Force building, which is something they've teased, which means Cable's coming back. Brawling in that as well with The Rock and Reynolds. Yeah. You have one of the most star-studded casts, brother. It would be absolutely out of this fucking planet. The funny, their ability to just riff and be in free form while also telling their story however they're going to do it, I think it would be a huge win and a giant land for Disney. And with The Rock being thrown that possible bone, you know he's sniffing around like, is DC going to fucking ever get to Black Adam? Are we doing that? Is that still a thing? Are we just joking about it? Like, are you guys still in there just like playing footsie? What's going on here, man? You know, totally at some point he's going to be like, look, I'm not getting any fucking younger, and I want to play these characters while I'm still jamming it. You know?
Yeah. You know, The Rock is definitely not a young dude by any stretch of the mean. I mean, or any stretch of the word. You know, he fucking stays in shape better than anyone else in Hollywood, but he can't do it forever, you know? So yeah, I would love it. I mean, like, Brolin in Deadpool 2 was part of the reason why last year I said that Deadpool 2 was actually my favorite movie of 2018 and not Infinity War. the total opposite of what Deadpool is on the big screen in Cable was just fucking fantastic. Dubsteps for pussies. It was great. So to have more of that, I mean, I'm sold. No problem. No question. Sign me up.
Yeah, I like that they're scheming and trying to make that happen. That's one of those oh, fuck yeah, man. Hell yeah, man.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
You got it. You know what's up.
Oh, hell yeah.
So there's another comic story that I want to discuss.
Okay.
It's not nearly as fun or funny or exciting. It's just kind of ugh, I can't believe it. But there is a Lawrence, Kansas City comic book writer who has been banned from Kentucky University, accused in 4 sexual assaults with 0 arrests.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
So I'm going to read this directly from kansascity.com. It starts with, "She can't forget the sound of Across the Universe by the Beatles playing over the speakers, the way his foot brushed up against her thigh as he asked her, 'How often do you masturbate?' It felt wrong to Hannah Strader, then a junior at the University of Kansas, for a guest speaker from her journalism class to ask her that. She had agreed to meet with Jai Nitz, a 43-year-old comic book writer who created a character in the hit movie Suicide Squad, because she hoped he would be her mentor. But after the meeting, she said Nitz trapped her against her will in a car and forcibly kissed her. Strand's account is one of several that have emerged in the past year, accusing Nitz of sexual violence. A Kansas City woman told police Nitz raped her in a parking lot. A woman in Lawrence says Nitz routinely coerced her into sex. Nitz has spent a lot of time on the KU campus in recent years. He was hired to lecture on creative writing and graphic novels, and returned at the invitation of professors and campus organization, according to the university's documents and officials. But despite a pattern of predatory behavior towards female students dating back all the way 5 years ago to 2014, including Strader's complaints in 2017, the KU did nothing to ban Nitz from the campus until this year, according to a letter from the provost's office.
There's no excuse for this at all.
There's more.
Okay, go on.
There's more. Hold on. It gets way worse. So, in all, 4 women have filed official police reports this year accusing Nitz of sex crimes. Sex crimes officially, so let's keep that in mind. The Star spoke with 3 of them, and 1 agreed to be named. The Star generally does not identify victims of sexual assault without their permission. Nitz has not been arrested or charged in any criminal case. Strader and the 2 women said police let them down, putting the burden on them to solve their own assaults. It is harmful to this is a quote from one of the victims, Strader. She says it's harmful to everyone to be told that they are responsibility for your own protection is up to you, and that when something does happen, you're not going to get help in the way that you need it. It puts the victim through a lot more trauma, and I don't think that is fair. Lawrence police and law enforcement officials in Kansas City, they say they did their best they could with the information they had. It's a common problem, said Elizabeth Jeljig, a professor of psychology who researches sexual violence prevention at the City University of New York. The burden of proof in criminal cases is high, and the prosecutors say winning convictions at trial in sexual assault cases can be hard. After allegations against Nitz surfaced online in April, he withdrew from public life and his comic book series was canceled. He spoke to comic book industry outlet Bleeding Cool, saying, "This is a very difficult time for me and my family. I apologize for my past behaviors and any pain that they caused. I am stepping away from comics and public life. I am seeking counseling and trying to live a better life for my loved ones." Nitz did not respond to the Star's report, that's Kansas City Star, for comment. But Strader said she found it easy to walk away from what happened. She has not found it easy to walk away from what happened. It was scary. A new guest walked into Strader's journalism class in March of 2017. The professor told students that they had 5 minutes to prep for a mock news conference. She looked up the guest's name online. He was a successful writer. He messaged her with invitations, let's meet for drinks. They met at Zen Zero, a restaurant in downtown Lawrence. She set the bar. Beginning of March Madness, Nitz was 15 minutes late, she remembers. Nitz bought her a second drink, and that's when it started. He really started working on me, and it was scary. He kept telling her that she was beautiful. He asked her questions about her sex life and whether she was a virgin, she said. She told He told her what it was like meeting celebrities such as Margot Robbie and Will Smith on the set of Suicide Squad. They talked, and they heard the cheer of the Jayhawks fans from the bar. Nitz told Schrader he graduated from KU in '98, a big year for the basketball team. You would have been pretty young. She says, I would have been 3. Okay? And Nitz didn't seem bothered by the age difference. It was almost closing time. He invited her to the burger stand just down the street. She wanted to go home, but felt indebted because Nitz had paid their tab. So she tagged along. At the burger stand across the universe was playing in the restaurant sound system. She remembers, Nothing's Gonna Change My World. The song goes on and on again. It was her favorite Beatles song. When they sat down, the height of the booth kept the two secluded from other patrons. Nips kept persuading Stratter to order more beer. One after another, they drank, and she felt she ordered far beyond her limit. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't get that one out. That's when he asked her that question we talked about at the very beginning. His leg was propped up, she said, with his foot against her thigh. She thought the question was inappropriate. He responded with, I was just curious, and then told her he would think of her later when he got himself off. He went to the bathroom, and she started sneaking away before he came back. She was uncomfortable with him asking her about her sex life. She was taught to be polite, so she didn't get up. When he returned from the restroom, he invited her to a strip club, she remembers, and she said no, but he kept prodding her. And then he began to kiss her. She told him no. Man, and this just keeps... Dude, it's like a super long article. I'm not going to keep reading it, but this guy is scum, bro.
There's no... What I was going to say earlier, before I got even more reason to say that this is unnecessary. I mean, there's no excuse for any of this. You know, not just his behavior, but as far as... Kansas University and, the police force, like, do your job, do your due diligence. You're not like, the police are not there to decide if someone is guilty or not. It is your job to take the word of a citizen, dispense justice, get this person away from other people, and then let the courts figure out if this guy is guilty or not, which sounds pretty much like a scumbag to me. So, shame on you to Kansas University for sure. I'm sorry all these women had to go through this for with a scumbag dude. I mean, it's 2019. We hear more and more about this. It's unacceptable. I don't have a better way to say it.
I mean, I'm not trying to justify it at all, but I want to say this. It's very important to note. Had that same story been told, the same kind of story been told with like a 22-year-old kid, okay, trying to get that information from her, it's not the same story at all as what's happening in this actual story. This is a guy who is using his success, using his what he thinks is quote-unquote position of power, throwing around a little bit of money at a girl he sees that's younger, and trying to just essentially say, I'm gonna fuck you, is what his end goal is. He didn't care about a relationship. He didn't care about befriending her. It was all for the pussy.
Yeah, he's the textbook definition of a predator.
Absolutely. And the fact that it took them so long to react to this is both shocking and not surprising all at once. And I think you understand where I'm coming from in saying that. It's just like, we have to be better as a society, man. Shit like this should not be happening.
Right.
Keep it in your fucking pants, dudes. Like, listen, women don't like creepy guys, and these guys that are, doing fucking awful, terrible shit in our world think that they're indebted by women to be loved or given respect and love, and it's harder than that. You need to earn a woman's trust and love and all that shit, and prove to her that you're going to be who you say you are, and come to bat when she needs you, but not just like, hey, I'm going to creep on this creep and be creepy and make it super obvious that I'm creeping, and then try to ask you for sex. Like,
right.
It's not working, man. And then you get put in this position where now this dude, like, what did he think was going to happen? He literally sacrificed his comic book career. Like, I need to look up this motherfucker because I want to see what comic character he actually created. I had the fucking article. God damn it. Why does that always happen to me, man? I tell you. It's like I'll have an article up, I'll go away for a second, and the article's just like, oh yeah, fuck you, dude. Sorry.
Peace
Later.
out.
Doy says, I got it now. It's pulling back up right now. Okay, cool. Jinitz is his guy. Okay, so Jinitz creator. Oh, he created El Diablo.
Really cool character, but that doesn't mean you get to be a fucking scumbag.
Nope. He will not be going to any conventions, I'm certain.
Hopefully not.
We will not be running into him anytime soon, also, I hope. Because, oh shit. I found more, I think. Oh, yeah. Hey, check this out. Okay, so here's another thing from him. Apparently, he sent this to some lady who's married. He says to her, we've never been introduced, and that explains a little more about the Sunstone stuff. Learning to write is something I'm used to teaching. Learning to write what you want is going to open the floor for some specific adult questions. If that's not okay, you need to tell me. And she says, no, that's perfectly fine. I've learned to be perfectly blunt, a pretty great policy in life, so ask away. And he just asked, are you into the BDSM lifestyle?
Hey, do you have time to hear about our Lord and Savior, Leather?
Oh, my God. There's another one, dude. There are tons of screenshots people are posting of this dude's creepy-ass messages online. You guys can find it. Just Google Jinitz if you're wanting to learn about like this guy, what he's about, maybe get a visual on him so he hopefully doesn't predatorily creep on you. People out there that are listening to the podcast who might be in Kansas City right now or in Kentucky is what I meant to say. I don't know why I said Kansas City. Fuck me.
Well, I think you said Kansas City because I said Kansas earlier when I meant to say Kentucky.
Don't even worry about it. It was just in my brains. It's fine. But, yeah, he created El Diablo, and that's pretty much it. And that's all this guy did. And then he's, had this career, gambled it, and he lost, I think. Because you don't come back from this now. Not in 2019. I don't see this guy just all of a sudden ended up on circuits again.
Hopefully. Hopefully he does not come back from this.
You're not going to see him at San Diego Comic-Con or Wizard World or C2E2 or something like that. You're not going to see him out and about doing things. Like, he said he's going back to the private life. I wonder why. You done fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Scumbag. Don't be like that, folks. Don't be this guy.
Don't be this guy. I'm going to shift gears again. This goes back to our earlier conversation. AP just messaged me, dude, just now on the show.
Okay.
And he asked a question that I think is so worthy of talking about on the podcast. We started to talk about it earlier and cover it, but he opens up a gateway question for you, and I'm about to blow your mind.
Okay.
AP sends me the question. He asked, do you think that Kevin Conroy as Old Man Batman could tease, say, Terry McGinnis?
God, I hope so. Please. Please. Like, I asked you, we talked about it during episode 100 on Tuesday. In our lifetime, do we get a live-action adaptation of Batman Beyond? Unanimously, it was pretty much probably not. Or if we do get it, is it going to be good? Probably not.
Well, I said the only way I think it would be good is if CW handles it.
Right. And then to add to that question, I said, in our lifetimes, do we get a modern adaptation or modern rendition of animated Batman Beyond? Same mixed bag of results. If the fucking CW is gonna do it and do it well, like you've done everything else well. It doesn't have to be perfect. It does not have to be. Cast a no-name guy as Terry McGinnis. Like, I don't need Matt Damon as Terry McGinnis. Like, don't break the bank on who you're gonna cast. Just write a good story. Especially, if you're gonna do Batman Beyond, do some good fucking cinematography. You're gonna have to do it. So, if you want to reinvigorate fans that you may or may not have lost, whether it's through kind of the lulls in each of the CW shows, if you want to bring those people back, make fucking Batman Beyond, and you've got it, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to switch gears yet again. Okay, hold on. I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to switch gears based on your preference. Do we want to go down the route of looking at this amazing 25 list that was sent to us by our now co-member of the Journey into Comics Network, Alex Buckles?
Yes.
Or do we want to briefly touch on this ridiculously awesome game I played?
I think we can do both. With Buckles' list, we just don't need to gush about each character for an hour.
Yeah, we can't do that. That'll take too damn long. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'll just read down the list real fast then, yeah?
Yeah, and we can jump in anytime we need to.
Sure, we'll start back at 25. The Crow, Eric Draven. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Love that
not
character.
Not one that I expected either.
Yeah, his list is definitely filled with that. Like, oh. So you got Eric Draven as the Crow. Mm-hmm. Deadshot at 24.
Great character.
Yep, absolutely. Floyd Lawton. From The Watchmen at number 23, Ozymandias. DC Universe, John Constantine at 22.
Love it.
Yep, The Punisher at 21. I like that Constantine and Punisher are next to each other. That makes my brain tingle. 20 at Sabretooth.
That's one that you don't like. When I sit down with people and we start nerding out, Sabretooth is not one that gets brought up very often. But, to the character of Wolverine, one of the most important characters in his story, I feel like. So maybe a little bit of an underappreciated character.
Totally agree. So at 19, we've got The Thing. At 18, we've got Bane. That makes my brain tingle just thinking of those two next to each other. Mm-hmm. 17, you've got Wesley from Wanted. I think that character was the guy that was... what's his name? I can see James McAvoy.
James McAvoy, yep.
Yeah, in the movie. At 16, you got Ghost Rider.
Love it.
Giggity goo. 15, Red Hood.
One of my favorite characters in all of DC ever.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. This next one, okay, real quick, Red Hood. There's one thing to question. Okay?
Go ahead.
As the Red Hood, are you talking... Because there's like different... I guess I'm more asking, what do you think he's talking about? Is it the OG Red Hood as in Joker iteration Red Hood? Or are we talking Jason Todd reformed Red Hood badass, do you think?
I would imagine it is... I'm just going to guess and say it's original Red Hood, but my gut's telling me that it's Jason Todd. I mean, I could talk to him real quick.
You're like, I can just send him a message right now. It is, in fact, 2019. We can solve this mystery. Yeah, I want clarification on that. I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, I can't go past Red Hood and start talking about his 14 until I'm, certain of how this is going to be played out. So while you're doing that, I guess I will briefly touch on 13 because it's Dwight from Sin City, who I think is... okay, Dwight would have to be... is that fucking... What was... I can't think of the actor's name. Pretty boy type. Fuck. Kevin Kline. Not Kevin Kline.
I just had it in my head.
Here, I'm going to look it up. Dwight Sin City is Clive Owen played him.
Yep.
As did Josh Brolin, apparently, in the sequel.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen the sequel yet, actually.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't really ever have the, will to do that. Do we have any knowledge upon this Rock of Red Hoodedness?
I messaged him. I'm waiting for him to get back with me so we can just keep cranking down the list.
We'll keep soldiering on, as you said. At number 13 is the man with adamantium bones, claws coming out of himself, and full-blown regeneration. Holy shit, you can even cut his head off, and I think he'll come back. Wolverine.
Love it. He was in my top 5. A little bit sad that he's down the list.
Absolutely, man. But there's so many different. This is like a little bit of everything. Like this is the paprika, as it were, of lists. It has a lot of all over the place stuff. At number 12, another one of your in your top 2 was your number 2, right? I do believe Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk smash.
He needs to smash his way farther up this list.
Take the stairs. Hate the stairs. Punches the wall.
Yeah. I loved that scene in Endgame when he just fucking shit plows Tony Stark. Wham!
I'm gonna go grab a quick slice. Boom! Just fucking runs him over.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was a Tony Stark there. Not anymore.
Yep.
KO'd. At number 11, Abe Sapien, the man from Hellboy. Which, you know what is honest? I've never read a Hellboy comic. I really, really, really like the character from the movies.
Come on,
but
man.
It's not that I've not wanted to. It's just that I don't even know where a starting point is because I feel like I was so late to the game. Like I don't even know where to begin. There's
It's
so
great.
much Hellboy to read.
All of it. It's all good.
All of it. It is all good.
I have clarification.
Sure.
Jason Todd. I'm gonna read this in his words.
Sure.
You mean between Jason Todd and the Joker? JT all day. Super compelling character. And when I say that, folks, he's talking about Justin Timberlake playing Jason Todd in the DC Cinematic Universe.
Give me that smile. Give me that smile. You know,
Yeah.
instead of Cry Me a River.
Yep.
Yep.
No, I totally dig it. Fucking Jason Todd as Red Hood is it's flawless. I mean, it's just good. It's real good.
It's real. It's damn fine.
It's real good.
Real good. At number
Fried
10,
taters.
we're breaking into his top 10 now. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Custer from Preacher.
Not really one that I'm not that I'm not a fan of the character, but I've never watched the show or read any of the comics. I'm just not really into it.
You know what's funny? I'm going to tell you a true story right now. I started watching Preacher right when it first debuted, and because of the company that I was watching it with, I hated it because of how they responded to the show.
Mm-hmm.
But those people aren't in my life, and that's a good thing. It's not like I'm sad for my losses. That it's trust me. I mean, they're not technically fully out of my life because I have to see them every time we drop Ollie off. But anyways, I think I want to give the Preacher show a chance because I do really want to read the comics as well. And I know that I sometimes need to be persuaded by the visual of it to really be like, okay, now I want to read the story and really know what they're trying to do.
That makes sense.
At number 9, Magneto.
Yeah, he was in my top 10 too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, as is number 8 and 7 on this list. Right? Deadpool was on your list, right? Am I crazy?
I had Deadpool at number...
Yeah, you're going to get there
8.
before me.
I had Deadpool at number 8, and I had Magneto at number 6.
Wow,
yeah,
so
both-
pretty close. You
both of my
actually
top
both
10.
you both ranked him at number 8. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I love Deadpool. I have Deadpool kicks.
Yeah, I'm still pretty jealous of those. Every time I've went to get superhero tennis shoes, they sell out of the ones that I want immediately.
Yeah, man, that's how it works too. You just got to like almost have your finger on the pulse or order them online ahead of time or whatever, you know. But I was going to say, that's what I was going to look up. I wanted to say that I'm looking on my list because I have my list still posted somewhere. I want to see where Deadpool ranked for me, because I feel like he might have also been 8, and that would be fucking crazy. No, he was at number 9. Man, that's close. Barry Allen was number 8.
Boo.
Yeah, but...
Boo Flash.
No, don't boo Flash. He's amazing. At number 7, your number 1, Venom. Mm-hmm. We already know all the reasons we love Venom. Number 6, one of my favorite characters.
Me
from
too.
The Watchmen, Rorschach.
He is my favorite character in The Watchmen.
I mean, I like Rorschach so much I named my outside mama cat after Rorschach because her back looks like his face.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah.
At number 5, Cassidy from Preacher, which, again, we don't know that character, probably. I don't know that character. I know Jesse Custer because he's the main dude. He is like the Preacher or whatever, but I don't know about Cassidy. Number 4, Batman.
My question is always, which Batman?
Ask him. Ask away. Maybe he'll have an answer as we're finishing up this list here.
I feel like I would be doing him a disservice to ask him that one digitally.
Because it's got to be Bruce.
I'll ask him that one in person. My favorite Batman, not to steal his thunder, is Terry McGinnis.
I know. We've definitely discussed that.
It's my favorite.
Yeah. Number 3, Marv from Sin City. True story. I once wrote a song about Marv called Urban Cowboy. That's a real thing. You can look it up on the internet. It's real.
That's my favorite character in Sin City.
Yeah,
Big
he's the man.
Marv.
Fuck yeah. That was Mickey Rourke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Number 2, not Joaquin Phoenix, but the Joker.
For all of you listening to this show currently, or in the past, or in the future, or whatever timeline you're listening to it on, prepare for Nate Phillips and I to jab Joaquin Phoenix's Joker every moment up until we see it. Thank you. This has been a public
fucking punch it in the fucking face until we can't fucking find it anymore.
This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Journey into Comics Network.
Featuring Tyler and Nate kicking ass and taking names.
Number 1, I saw this one coming. It's Big Red himself with the right hand of doom, Hellboy.
Oh yeah, Hellboy. And I feel like Buckles saw the movie and wasn't necessarily a fan, but I can't remember exactly what his stance was on the movie.
He enjoyed it because it was a Hellboy movie, but it was an awful movie just in general. So, kind of like me or myself retaking this journey into comics. I feel like you definitely need to read Hellboy. Start anywhere. Start at book number 1. Start somewhere, because once all the characters get introduced and you start to pick up on some of the stuff that was in the Guillermo del Toro movies, you will fall in love with that character even more. Because I read Hellboy a little bit, like very briefly when I was a kid. My dad got him, and then I got him secondhand. And then when I saw the movies, I doubled down on the character. I haven't read all of Hellboy, but I've read a good portion for sure. And when I made my initial 25, I feel kind of bad because he wasn't on that list, and he should have been on that list somewhere for me. So
we can always amend the lists. Don't worry, it's not the end of the world.
Well, I'm a big fan of what you and I talked about kind of after the fact, that I'm going to make basically 3 different renditions of this list because I'm so indecisive and so basic, I guess, that I can't, out of all those characters, I can't just pick 25. So I'm gonna be that guy.
I'm gonna invite AP to do a list for us of 25. I also want to get him a random origin. I want to have Nick do a top 25. I mean, some of the people like V and Sarah and Brando and Dick even were part of that, so they all made lists. So there are some, new blood fresh in the water for the JICN, and I want to make sure all you guys are represented and have your lists, because it is cool to see like what people think is the best superhero, what resonates with any certain person. Obviously,
one thing that I will point out about Mr. Buckles' list is a lot of similarities when it came to villains for his and I's lists, and a big theme of anti-heroes.
Absolutely.
Between the Preacher and Sin City characters, and then obviously Hellboy and Venom towards the top of the list. So, dig it. Love your list, Buckles.
Yes. At some point soon we're going to have Buckles on to do the show. We've already talked about it, obviously. It's on the list of things to do. Let's jump forward now into a little bit of a review section, talking a little bit. Tyler, I blew up the Elite Four chat, or the Elite Network chat now, because there's 5 of us and possibly 6. But I blew that chat up because on Wednesday we had our friend Cody over, and, Cody's our, like, super nerdy, quiet, keeps to himself type friend. He really likes playing board games and stuff. He also happens to have a fuck ton of money, so he backs Kickstarters like no one's business. If you're a Kickstarter and he can back you and there's something worth his money, he'll give you the maximum amount of money he can give you to get the coolest shit for Kickstarter.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Sure.
I start a Kickstarter right now.
Sure.
That is literally just a Polaroid, a literal Polaroid of me doing this.
Hold on, let me see. I gotta turn the... Hold on. Okay.
Will he back that?
Well, are you gonna give him a 20-foot by 20-foot portrait of that for like $200?
I will give him a 20-foot by 20-foot Polaroid.
Yes.
Then
probably.
Of me in the David Hasselhoff era Baywatch get-up, running on the beach like this.
Oh my gosh, he would be terrified.
For about $2,500.
Okay, he might get down on it. It was pretty random, but he might be all about that life. Who knows? Maybe you'll tickle his fancy in that regard.
I just had to throw it out there.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'll remember to ask him that next time I see him. But he backed this thing, Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. It is this it's like an interactive board game, role-playing type game type thing. It seems convoluted kind of, but the setup is very easy. The playing style is very fun. It's really addictive to play. Most games should only take an hour. Our first playthrough took 4.5 hours. Because there were a couple things that went wrong in setup that we didn't quite understand, that we've now been given clarification on. And so the game is pretty cool because there's a circle that is the command center of the Rangers. That's the center of the board. Then you put 4 pieces of the pie together to have your map, and those are the 4 different areas where putties or monsters can show up. You can deploy the Rangers wherever with 1 move. Then it's 1 action to fight them. You have cards. The cards aren't just for fighting. They also double as your defense. So if you don't have any cards in your deck, and you are pretty much dead. So the game, it's really fun to play. The miniatures are what really makes it special, because it comes with, as he backed the biggest thing. So he got all these miniatures, all the different expansions that don't exist technically yet. Shattered Grid variant. You don't get Tommy with the regular box. With his version, he got Green Ranger. He got Red Ranger with the Green Ranger's shield. He got fucking White Ranger. Zed is not a base villain. You get Zed. You get Rito Revolto. I mean, it's huge. It's so in depth. If you go on to the Power Ranger Heroes of the Grid Kickstarter, you can see the top tier backed thing is fucking absolutely massive. They do fully intend for you to paint the miniatures, which I hate that I saw them painted, because now I want him to paint the fucking miniatures because they look so much cooler. They're pretty cool now, but for example,
that is something that I've pushed back against for years. I shouldn't have to paint miniatures. Just make them painted.
Yeah, no, I get that too, but I think some people like the project of doing it. It's more of a fun hobby. Like,
Right.
Because you don't have to, and it also kind of saves on the overall cost because they don't have to do extra paint for multiple prints or whatever.
Right.
So when you play the game, one of the features of the game is to at some point bring out the Zords. That's part of Power Rangers, right? So for every 6 monsters or putty you defeat, for every monster you defeat or boss, you get a token that gives you one of the Zords. But for every 6 putty you defeat, you also get to move that counter. So you can go through and just like boom, 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 unlock all the Zords. And they're anytime during the game use powers. You can use them at any point in the game. But Megazord, when you get the base game, only comes with this little medallion that just shows the Megazord's picture. The version our dude got fucking comes with the biggest miniature of the fucking Megazord I've ever seen. It was absolutely stunning. And like that, and again, it drew me to it. The game is so much fun. But anyways, my buddy Cody wrote a review back to the Kickstarter, and it's kind of wordy. He kind of explains what we did, how we did it wrong, but it's better, I think, to use his words to explain the gameplay, because he is really, you'll see, he's meticulous. So here we go. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. From the brain of Cody. He says, so 2 friends and I, that's Sarah and myself and him, took a crack at the game tonight after they got to look over all the items I had received. It was a process in and of itself. We basically played the standard game aside from me, Nate, wanting to use Tommy, Green Ranger of course, since White Ranger has a misprinted deck, there was an error with that, instead of Billy. Though there were 3 of us, 2 controlled 2 Rangers and only 1 wanted 1 Ranger, so it was like as if we had 5 players in the game. The first couple rounds were okay. We had some decent luck with the deployment draws and were able to keep those areas cleared. Ended up with Madame Woe as our first monster. Took her out faster than I thought we would. There were a few fine print things that we missed at first, but I don't think they would have affected the outcome too much at that point. The game took a turn for the worst when we suddenly had both Nasty Knight and Rita, who's the main game boss, come out at the exact same deployment round, and the instant panic kind of messed us up. So every part of the board that you play, if 6 putty or 5 putty, depending on what the little token says, are on that board portion, it's in panic mode. If all 4 portions go to panic mode, you lose the game. So there's like many ways to lose the game, only one way to win. That's defeating all the monsters and killing off Rita. Mm-hmm. So he goes on to say, pretty sure we ended up deploying it all correctly, but it was a bit worrisome regardless. Taking out Nasty Knight and the normal and super putties there helped unlock all the other Zords, plus the Megazord. We loved having the deluxe figure out for that. The next deployment, we went into a gray area that I don't know if we treated correctly. We would have lost all 4 areas being panicked, but we used the Mastodon Zord to instantly wipe out a putty, because every Zord has a different bonus or whatever. But, anyways, he goes on to talk about the second round. We fought against it. It was very, very brutal. I'm just going to kind of paraphrase here because it's very, very, very long-winded. But we battled for hours because every section was every section but one was in panic. So we would go through the actions, clear on all these putty, and then the next deployment round, more putty would get redeployed to these areas. So it was like a never-ending, arduous battle. So we would stop, we'd fight one of the bosses, one of the battles. It's really cool to see in action. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it to you folks now. I'm sure this is not nearly as entertaining as playing the game, but it's super immersive as a Power Ranger fan. It was definitely the best way they could have done a board game, and also, in my opinion, it's my favorite game now to play in the tabletop style. Like, cool. I want to go back to it 100 times. We've already planned, sometime this week. He's coming over. We're playing it again. It has to happen. It was so interesting just to be, because you get immersed. And the cool thing about the gameplay that's really fun is it's not like if you, me, and a couple other people were playing, Tyler, and we're going to fight this boss. Mm-hmm. You could say, hey, I'm going to go first. And I'm going to go first because this move that Billy, let's say, has is going to trigger all you to have one less power that you have to take. And that's going to help us win this battle faster. And it's like, oh yeah, of course we're going to do that. It helps buff everybody. Then we move on. They attack once. Then we go on. Somebody else says, I'll attack this round. Boom. And there's no real super structure. It's very much like a fight. You're deciding and teaming up. And that's another great thing. Everybody is working together against the board. It's not competitive.
Cool.
So yeah.
when you started blowing the chat up about it, I was instantly sold. So
yeah, I looked at it and I was just like, holy shit, this is so much. He had like literally a 35-pound box of shit that they sent him. It was insane.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't know if we have anything else to dive into, do we, that I know of?
Not that I know of. I think this is a good place to wrap it up. We've got a medium-length episode this week. It feels good.
Hell yeah, man. I'm all about that life. Well, as always, folks, you guys can check out the Journey into Comics podcast at journeyintocomics.com. Get us on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, Spotify, CastBox, TuneIn, many others. Hey, Alexa, play Journey into Comics Network. Now you can get us on your Amazon devices. I haven't tried it with the Google or the Siri devices yet, so I don't know if we're on how that shit all works and operates on your shit. But I know for a fact that you can say that to your Alexa and get us to come up, and it's really funny to hear her say our episode titles. Because she'll be like, now listening to Journey into Comics Network, the OGs 001. Calm down your skin. I'm just like, thanks so much. You've done a great job. All right, folks, you can also... What's up?
Hey, stand by real quick. I'll do a quick experiment.
Sure.
Hey, Google, play Journey into Comics Network on Spotify.
I must bring the Comics Network on Spotify.
She didn't hear me right.
Okay, it's no big deal. We'll figure it out later. I like that you tried it live on the podcast, though. You're like, hey, let me see if this just works.
Well, she's sitting right next to me, so...
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Of course she can't hear you or understand what the fuck you're saying.
Right. She's my sidekick in the throne, so... she's pretty dumb.
She's pretty dumb. I like that.
She's a backwoods Google.
Backwoods Google is the episode title for sure. Okay. Sure. Also, folks, go to patreon.com/Journey into Comics. Your money helps. It really helps. It sincerely helps. I just got to pay the co-founder of the Journey into Comics Network, Brando, 15 bones to ensure that we have the JourneyIntoComics.com rights still, because we could have lost them. Holy shit, that wouldn't have been fun. All right, folks, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of Journey into Comics. This has been Journey into Comics 255. What do we say about Google? Backwoods Google? It's Backwoods Google. Hell yeah. All right, I've been Nate.
And I've been Tyler.
And as always, we will see you folks later. You're going to pop your caps back. Tell them what to do, my friend.
And fill your brains with shit.
Later, guys.